Never a better way to start a show than a complete technological fail with YouTube, which messes up my whole intro speech, doesn't it? Because I normally say at this point, welcome you 7,400 amazing subscribers. But clearly, no one on YouTube is watching. So thank you to everyone who was on YouTube and has jumped over onto LinkedIn to watch this very special live stream focusing on digital accessibility in cybersecurity with the community's very own Justin Merhoff. In this episode, Justin's going to share his views on the importance of accessibility, of the importance I can't even speak, the importance accessibility has in the field of cybersecurity. So, including how security programs at organizations can be accessible and why all cybersecurity solutions need to be accessible to everyone due to current programs and solutions just not being accessible to those out there with disabilities. And with that in mind, and again, this isn't going to make much sense, there should be closed captions now on LinkedIn, and we did add them as well to YouTube for your convenience, but clearly we won't be testing those today. So before we bring Justin on, I'm not going to go through the usual rambling speech, but for those that haven't met me before, my name's Simon Lindstead, your host and the founder of the InfoSec Live community. And by sharing stories and best practice over the last few months, it's led to nearly 100,000 views on YouTube and many, many views here on LinkedIn too. So firstly, thank you so much for your engagement. Special thank you as well to Jason Owen and all the team at Rapid7 for supporting our community efforts and making these insightful streams possible. Going to bring a little QR code up for you now. If that technology works, of course, it's turned the chat off straight away. So Restream, we are going to be having words after this. If you want to check out the link, this links through to the fundamentals section on their website, which is tons of free resources on cloud security, vulnerability risk management, application security, detection and response. And of course, don't forget about their amazing open source tools such as Metasploit and Velociraptor, helping all of the InfoSec Live community. Okay. What is important on these events is your engagement. So if you're watching this live, please do drop any questions in the chat for Justin. We want to try and make this as interactive as possible. So let's see if the next part of technology is actually going to work today, and play the stinger and bring our amazing guest on. So no chat, no YouTube, and a big QR code right in front of my face. Apart from that, it's been a fantastic start to the show. Justin, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm well, slightly stressed with the technology fail, but other than that, brilliant. Do you know, I spent an hour and 15 minutes on a chat call with Restream earlier, sorting out all these bugs and issues, which was the chat, the closed captions, and the YouTube linkage. And clearly the help they've given me hasn't worked. So again, for everyone who's jumped over on LinkedIn, thank you very, very much for that. It's much appreciated. So
can I kind of jump off of what you just said,
please.
actually, and what you just went through? So imagine what Simon just went through and times it by about 1,000, and that doesn't even touch the issues that the community within the accessibility community have when using cybersecurity solutions. So today we're just going to talk about what I found since becoming aware, because I didn't know about this for 25 years, and I became aware. I will full disclosure, I'm at an accessibility software company. So that's what drove me, but that's not my job. I took this on my personal, once understanding that the importance is being missed, and it's being missed by not only cybersecurity solution companies, but the people running the security programs at organizations currently.
Okay, thank you. And it's really, really opened your eyes since you've been involved in that side. What are some of the pain points that you see people experiencing? And I suppose the follow up to that is, what can be done better to make it easier for
Okay.
people?
I think the easiest one that reaches pretty much to every organization is security awareness training. Security awareness training and what is taught to the company as a whole generally is not accessible. And I'll give an example. I'll just pick any huge big enterprise. If they have 20,000 people per se, I don't have exact numbers, but let's say they have 20,000 people. I'm venturing to guess that they have about between 50 to at least 100, or probably more, people that have accessibility needs, because there's a spectrum of accessibility needs, right? It's not just screen reader users, although a lot of this is going to be talking about that, because the websites and the solutions that are being built is not accessible. So let's stay on security awareness, because I don't want to drift. So security awareness at enterprises is generally bought and used by security awareness training software, right, for enterprises. And currently, most of that software is not accessible. And when it is, only a portion of the training is made accessible. So like the core security awareness training that everybody in the company gets, but not PCI specific, not HIPAA specific, not server specific, not development. You get where I'm going?
Yeah.
So what the companies can do is talk to their provider for security awareness and say, hey, we're missing our base. We want to make sure that everyone gets the training, because here's the thing. If they're not getting the training, if you're at an enterprise company right now and you have not fully embraced accessibility, right? You have a risk right now in your company with untrained individuals that do not know how to properly secure themselves. Yeah. And they're already vulnerable due to the fact that they have disabilities or people with disabilities. So they're not even getting the training. Now let's go into the neurodiversity side of this, even with security awareness. Who here, I know we're security nerds, but let's just be real. Who really wants to go through all that training? Because it's usually not good, right? But if
It's
we make
normally
it
like
accessible,
pulling teeth is what it's normally like.
yeah.
Yeah.
But if we make it accessible and actually consumable at the same time by streamlining it and making it easier for people, people people learn differently. Like let's just take it from the learning aspect. If you have transcripts, you have playback, you have closed captions, you have video descriptions of what's going on in the video. That's not just, that could be for anyone. I use closed captions when I watch shows.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the curb theory. You'll hear about that within accessibility. And I'm new. I don't. And please, people in the comments, if you are from and are very aware about accessibility, I'm only a year in. So, but like it's the curb theory. Years ago, we didn't even have curbs, or so for wheelchair accessible, right?
Yeah.
But now, anytime you walk and there's one available, you'll probably go to it and not even think about it. You didn't get that because for you, that was for wheelchairs.
Yeah.
But then everyone benefits, right? So I think the companies need to push on their providers and vendors and start ensuring that the solutions are accessible. Because and I'll just spurt real quick here if I'm okay. Then that's what I'm talking about with the security program. So if you're running a security program in an organization, even if you have enterprise training, I know slideshows and briefings are done from security. If the images are not made to provide alt text, then you just it nixed out a whole bunch of people from getting what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So if you're briefing a huge organization about security and the different product owners, how do you know that they don't have an accessibility need? And nor should you need to know. You should just make it accessible. So that's the other point. Is there's a common thing that I've seen where, well, not enough people are asking for it. They shouldn't have to ask.
Yeah. It's funny. It's
So
funny you should say that. That's been the response to the last 3 people that I've spoken to
right,
about it as well. Yeah.
right. It's like, oh, there's not enough demand. Is there ever enough demand for everything that you just made up?
No.
Like, was there a demand for Air Jordan shoes? No, there wasn't.
No.
Not when they came out. That wasn't even a thing. It didn't exist.
No.
You get where I'm going?
Yeah.
Sorry, I get passionate.
No. It's brilliant. I love the passion.
Yeah,
So
thank you.
really, it's about shifting mindsets, isn't it? From how these
Yeah,
organizations.
it's becoming aware.
Yeah.
Right. It's awareness. It starts there. Like, yes, of course, things should be designed securely and accessibly. Both of those words should be synonymous with design, but it's not right now.
Yeah.
So I want to get there, and it's going to take time.
So Brent's made a good point in there. And I think, there are companies who are doing something similar here, but I wonder how this works from an
There are
accessibility
companies.
point of view. Yeah. Using
Right.
video games and gaming technology. How would that work from an accessibility point of view, Justin?
So in theory, it should work, Brent, because there's video games right now. I know whatever a God of War Ragnarok. I'm not a video gamer. A God of War Ragnarok is by default, but that's, again, it takes a lot of money to do that, to make that accessible. I know that there are companies that are working to make the training more accessible, and stay tuned to my LinkedIn. I'm working with some company to give them advice on that. So more to come. But yes, but that's a good point. Right now, we're not even doing gamification. We're just, a lot of times we're doing videos, right? We're doing slideshows, whatever. Those aren't even accessible, right? So Brett, to your point, gaming is the way. But then if you go on my LinkedIn, there's a group that we created in LinkedIn called Accessible and I think it's Inclusive Security Advocates. I can't even remember the group name I did. But there's an article about gaming, gamifying cybersecurity training, and the lack of accessibility there.
I'm going to drop a link to your profile for those that haven't got it in the chat. And there's also another link here that you gave me earlier, Justin. Do you want to just give people a bit of info on what that is before I drop that in there as well?
Okay, so I do a webinar. I've done a webinar about this, and I'm actually speaking to a college soon. And so I just revamped my slides. And so the link that he's providing, if you all after we talk about this want to know more information about this and get the slides, um, it's not exactly what I'm pitching, but we're going to hit all of the points there. And also too, if you want to hear this and have it presented, please, I'm open to that. If you want a more consumable version, a one-on-one, depending on, just reach out to me. I want to get this to whoever, so please share it.
Thank you.
But yeah, if you sign that up, we can also get you connected if you are to the point you want to look at some services from my company DQ
So
system.
let's just take it from a vendor tooling perspective. So
Yeah.
let's look at a SIEM, whatever you want to call
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
How could they
No, you're
be
fine.
how could they be improved to help people with accessibility?
Make it make it screen reader available. Like it's not accessibility is not only for screen readers,
No.
but if we did that, right? Because here's the problem. It's not just making tools accessible here. The fact that the tools aren't accessible, you are keeping out a huge portion of our population that's already disenfranchised. And we claim in cybersecurity that we're DE&I and we're trying to be more inclusive. Accessibility is often missed.
Yeah.
I don't really see it in marketing. I see it in some security awareness training, but very, very often not. There's no real representation. So the tools themselves aren't accessible. And Emily's here. So Emily, if you go to um, my profile in the group that I was talking about, her paper that she wrote in school is there. So she wanted to get into digital forensics. Sounds like a great idea. It would be fun. Couldn't even start day one because she's a screen reader user. None of the tools on the market right now are accessible to a screen reader. So looking at logs to find things to support a security incident can't be done. But you could play God of War Ragnarok? Like that just doesn't compute to me.
No.
So we are keeping people like Emily out of our industry because we don't want to fix the code and design the tools accessibly. But we want them to be designed securely.
So do you think there's more hope for us to get new tools, new products from inception built with accessibility in mind, as Joe stated in there, or do what he's doing and do it from the start? Is it going
Yes.
to be too difficult, is the question, to go to existing companies who've got the platforms and the software out there? Is it too much of an ask to get them to do something about it? Because it seems like it at the moment, doesn't it?
So yes. But here's the thing, and it does take a little bit of work, and it does take someone. Again, not everyone is going to do this, right? Just like not everyone's going to ask, even if they need it for something to be accessible. But companies can be sued because by law they need to be accessible.
Yeah.
Especially in the United States and especially in Europe.
Yeah.
And in many other countries. It's just not often enforced. So they're already breaking law. I mean, I'm not trying to be rude, but you are. Like if it's not accessible, you shouldn't even need someone to complain. If you know that it's not accessible and it's a massively sold tool, just do the ratios.
Yeah. This
Like
this is a good
it's going to happen.
this is a good stat. Andrew
Okay.
Edwards. It's often talked about how there's a large need for cybersecurity professionals, yet we're preventing about 13% of the American population from even trying to join the field.
Yes.
So we could touch on the whole skills gap debate at this point, which we're clearly not helping ourselves with, right?
No, they can't even get into the thing. And full disclosure, Andrew's on my team, so thank you for that lofting that win up there. I like it. But yeah, we're keeping Emily's not the only person we're keeping out. And also too, just remember, generally the age of leadership in cybersecurity is not exactly young.
No.
What generally happens when your body starts to deteriorate.
Well, I've got
You need
one contact lens for distance and one contact lens for close up, and I still can't read properly with those. So that's macular degeneration, isn't it? I think they call that.
yeah. So there's some questions. Let's get to that one because Jim's got one. And how hard is accessibility versus translation? So just translating the code for it to be accessible, is that what you're saying, Jim? And while I wait for that, let's see what Michaela says. What role does AI play when it comes to accessibility? I think there's a great deal that AI can do, Michaela, and I know that I think you're also researching that as well. But also the problem is, it doesn't, even right now. Like if we're talking about like Chat GPT, like hey, create this. I'll say it should be able to do like the alt text portion, but if you're asking it to create an accessible or that I've seen some tests on it and it's not exactly there yet. I know that's not exactly what you asked for, but kind of oh, okay. Jim, let's connect. I'd have to ask some of my team that what the differences are versus translating it. But I get where I think I get where your brain is because yeah. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, but I definitely want to get it back.
Let's
That
find
back
out.
to you.
Get you to do some digging around, Jim. Reach out
Yeah,
to Justin offline.
he
Another
will. He will.
one here from David Higgs. Are there any articles or resources? David Higgs is, I think, senior sales engineer. Correct me if I'm wrong, David, for Rapid7. Are there any articles or resources you could recommend around UX for accessibility? In your opinion, where should UX researchers start? Good question.
DQ.com. I'm a little partial.
Yeah.
We definitely can help you. And we have a lot of free resources. If you go to GitHub right now, David, and look up Axe Core, you should be able to get our repository and get all that information. We have free web extensions that you can scan the code with to at least get you kind of started. But the extension that I'm talking about would be used by the developers. So as they're coding, they can use that and scan the page and check for accessibility errors. And the free version gives about 50 to 60% accuracy to a WCAG 2.1 AA standard.
Awesome. Thank you for that. I've dropped the link to
Mm-hmm.
DQ's website
Mm-hmm.
in the chat. I didn't manage to find the GitHub one. Joe,
I'll get it to you.
thanks, mate. Joe Wells is up next. Why do you think they are not designing with accessibility and security in the forefront? I don't know. Money,
Awareness,
awareness, money. Yeah,
awareness, and money.
yeah.
It's not. They're trying to design the tool for the main demands that they're getting, and I get that. I get it. They're not getting the demand from that, but again,
But you shouldn't,
you
like you
still have
said,
to.
having things accessible. There shouldn't need to be a demand for that. Like it should
Right.
just be built in, right?
That should just be part of
Yeah.
design. Yeah.
Yeah, here we go. They're coming in thick and fast here. Lou Covey, my friend, how are you? Long time no speak. Accessibility and security impact the ability of a company from gathering personal information that the company can sell. The problem is that if companies like Facebook would design for both, they would automatically qualify the leads and make sales conversions easier, making what they sell more valuable by a factor of 10. Ignoring security and accessibility is leaving money on the table.
Lou, do you want to be part of this too? Like, you just took it right out of my slides.
Lou's one of the best journalists in the field of cybersecurity, so I highly
Let's
suggest you
go.
connect up with him later and have a
Yeah,
chat for that. Yeah, Lou,
I'm down.
definitely connect with Justin. You'll have a great conversation. Where are we now? Steve Hindle. Let's bring this one up quickly. Good old Steve. Accessibility in everything. Have you tried training employees on workplace violence and active shooter? Tell the less able-bodied or challenged employees to run, hide, fight when all their options come down to hide.
Well, first, I apologize for missing our call because I jumped on here getting prepped and totally forgot that I booked your time. So I apologize. And I consider Steve my mentor, and we've talked about this. And he's exactly right. I mean, that's totally missed, right? We're we're not designing active shooter programs to also include people that will need more assistance. I've done plenty of them in 20 years in the military. Not one time was that ever factored in.
Yeah. Hold on, what's this here?
So,
Michaela's put something up. This is a Microsoft conference.
oh, she's good.
Content looks interesting. So again, if anyone in the chat, copy and paste this link out from Michaela. That might be worth a look.
So Microsoft and Google and other companies use Axe Core to make their things
And
accessible.
someone's just said the links don't seem to be appearing for me when you drop them in the chat, Simon. What I'll do, I am going to let Justin talk to you all for about 2 minutes while I copy and paste these into the LinkedIn one rather than through Restream, because I think all of these technological fails today come from Restream, which in itself isn't accessible. So there's 3 or 4 things I can talk to them about tomorrow. So let me just do that, Justin, if you don't mind.
Okay. So while we talk about that, think about this too. When is the last time, if you're a part of a security program, when was the last time, and I know they sound lame, but when was the last time you did any user feedbacks or surveys on how well your tools are usable by the people that are using them? I mean, if you do it, great, but I think that's often missed. So that right there, right? We're not asking them, do you have, because you don't ask that, you shouldn't. But if you say, hey, we just did this rollout of this tool. It's been a year. What do you guys think about it?
Yeah.
And if people start saying they can't use it, and you can even say, if anyone's having any difficulties in using this tool, please reach out to us. And even say that when you're rolling it out, you should.
Yeah.
But truly, you should be checking for it with accessibility when you're POCing the tool. And what I'm also asking is, the security program can also help out the accessibility team if they have one, or that program, even if it's starting with people that don't have their own, is that we have similar roads, right? Cybersecurity isn't always taken seriously either.
Right.
Okay, so we can help the accessibility field. Most security programs are who run the third-party risk and vendors. Why can't we just add, is your tool accessible? Does it have a VPAT within the last year? If not, we can't use your tool.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that a VPAT is the end-all be-all and saying that it is accessible, but it is at least a step forward. And what a VPAT is, it's a voluntary statement of how accessible or inaccessible your tool is versus to the whichever standards they're doing the assessment for. Typically, it's WCAG 2.1 AA. And what those standards are is the international standards for how you should be designing and coding accessibly. But it's the guidelines. You can always do more, but it's where you should start.
No, I appreciate that. And I just want to say a couple of thank yous to people in the audience. Brent, thanks for letting us know what's going on with those links. I have just dropped some extra ones in LinkedIn that were in the stream earlier, so hopefully they will show up after the show. Steve Hindle says,
Can I take that?
Steve Hindle says no apologies needed, Justin. He was late too.
Yeah.
So that's all good. And one more, Aliu, thank you for reposting Justin's link from LinkedIn as well. It's teamwork makes the dream work. Thank you all so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Ali. So Lewis got a really good question. I want to go ahead and take that. So here's the thing. I've been doing security for 25 years, and unless they've made some updates to the training, no one in security is taught about accessibility in any of our training. None. And so I think what you're saying is it part of GRC because it's compliance? I mean, it could be, but it's often not. I went 25 years. I didn't even know. I had no idea.
It probably should be.
It should be,
Yeah.
right? But no, it's not. I don't think it's not. We are doing that here at DQ, but it's a little different. But yes, it should be, but no.
Okay, well, that,
Whose
I think
minds do we need to change to fix this?
that's what we're trying to do, which leads nicely on to Joe's question, doesn't it? Whose minds do we need to change?
The leaders of the designers of any security solution and the implementers of security solutions.
All of them.
Yep, all of them. Yep.
I think it's a complete awareness thing, isn't it, for everyone at every stage in the industry. The more you inform and educate everyone, the more pressure there will
Mhm.
be on those who make the decisions to actually do the right thing and incorporate this in from the start.
Yeah, and Lewis, you're not wrong, and that's a common thought. Is this will be more accepted if it's a part of it if it's a part of like SOC 2 or some certification. But again, you're designing a web. Let me give an example. Okay, this might show my age a little bit, but I just gave this example to someone earlier today, and I think it makes great sense. If you're cited and you're reading a newspaper, you have the choice because you're able to see everything on there. You could choose to go below the fold, look over here, look over there. Now imagine that you can't see it, but you still need to read the paper. So when a screen reader is going to a website, think of the website as like newspaper, like coming down like this, from top down. I use my hands to give that motion, right? To simulate that. If the screen reader starts reading on the top, right? Right, like let's look at the screen. If it's going on LinkedIn and it's showing this video, oh, it's a video. Okay, here's the comments, blah, blah, blah. Let's go to the regular homepage. So regular homepages, home has this thing. So you're going to the toolbar, but the screen, because they didn't do it hierarchically, right, from top down, it's going to go from the home tab to paragraph 2 to paragraph 10,
Yeah.
back up to the top. Oh, and if refresh is on, it's going to refresh. And now the screen reader gets to start all over again without even knowing it. Now, you have to think about this. They're not consuming it with their eyes. They have to hear it. And when they're listening to this, they're also listening to it at a very high speed, a lot higher than you're used to. So that thought of, well, making this accessible doesn't make sense because there's so much worse. You'd be amazed on what people can do with a screen reader. Trust me, I see it in my daily work. There's developers, designers. There's not a lot of people in cybersecurity because the tools aren't accessible. But there's brilliant people that we're missing. Sorry.
No, not at all. Please don't apologize.
I'll go off to a tangent.
Let's give you a breather and just bring this comment up,
Okay.
which says information security to an extent should be taught at school. And from a UK perspective, which is the only perspective I've got because I've got loads of children who go to school in the UK, there isn't there's no, what's the word I'm looking for? There's no legislation to say that schools have to do anything in particular from a primary up to or junior up to senior. It's down to each school to do something about that, which leaves you with some schools doing it really well, other schools doing it really badly, and some not doing it at all. And I think you're right. If we're going off on a tangent a little bit away from the accessibility, but the ease of accessibility for young children to hit the internet and access information that they shouldn't do is a real concern. And for me in the UK, we desperately need to have some form of legislation that makes it mandatory for schools to give a certain level of education to students. I'd say from 5 or 6 years up, as soon as they start getting their hands
I
on
agree.
tablets. Yeah.
I agree.
I think we've got a last comment from, let me bring this up. Aliu, here we go. This one here. Cameron Renaud, the only cybersecurity academic.
Yeah. Karen Renaud, she's a professor of cybersecurity. She's the only academic that teaches about accessibility to her students that we know of. And he's right, because we read the same research paper and we actually both got to talk to her.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm trying to.
And if there are others, please help us be aware because I don't know of any.
Sorry, I'm just reading Lewis's comment. Wait, Simon, you've got loads of children? Are there loads of children that go both? Lewis. I've got six
Both. Yeah.
children, and there are technical term loads that go to school in the UK. Yeah. Let me just take that one off the screen. Hold on. Hide message.
Yeah.
There we go. Another one I want to bring up quickly is Melissa's comment here, which I think is one of my favorites so far. Everyone is the answer to who we need to make aware, because it starts with awareness of our
Yep.
own abilities to discover our own perhaps unconscious biases. I know you haven't used that word in there, but I'm going to sling it in, that we incorporate into our designs from an abilities perspective. It's changing the way we think. And again, everything we've talked about and all the streams we've been on and all the meetings we've had, Justin, it's about empathy, and it's about putting yourself in other people's
Thank you.
shoes, right? Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, Melissa.
Thank you, Melissa. She's awesome, by the way.
Is she? I gathered that.
She's
From
an
the comment.
she's an accessibility lead at a very big company.
There we go. Oh, here he is, the man, the policy wizard himself. How are you, Stuart? Good to see you, my friend. Thanks for jumping in on LinkedIn after our YouTube failure. As an education provider in security, what are the top 5 things he can do to make his courses more accessible?
If there's any images, they should be able to be screen reader available. If there's video, there should be video descriptions and transcripts playback, because often training is locked to go all the way through. They need to be able to go back if they didn't hear it right or see it right. Color contrast on the website that you're delivering the training on. I mean, honestly, I think they're probably, I would look up maybe something like accessible LMSs, learning management systems, if you get to that point. Because I know you're doing this on your own, Stuart, but I think there's going to be a point where it'll probably have to lift to, unless you're already on an LMS training platform.
I think he has. Again,
then I would just look. It might not be accessible, so he might just have to look at that, and we could talk offline. I'll help him out.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Get rid of that one. Joe Wells, there are over 32,000 schools in the UK. Haven't got that many children, but no, definitely lots of schools. Okay, let's move on then. So what is it DQ are doing to help businesses? Just talk me through what they do a little bit, because I'm unsure as to what the organization does, Justin.
So DQ has products and services to help the world be digitally accessible.
Yeah.
So digital equality worldwide is what we're going for. So we have tools that allow you to test for accessibility from design to production. We have different tools. We have different services to help do assessments for that. We have consultants if you're wanting to build an accessibility program. So we have all of that all in one place. Axe Core was made open source, I think, in, don't quote me, I want to say 2020, but I could be wrong. But recently, within the last few years, and plenty of companies and startups and everyone is using Axe Core. But if you weren't aware of it, you could check out the GitHub and utilize that when you're building to make sure that your products are accessible. If it's too much, maybe we can speak about this over messages. What steps can be taken to implement accessibility in GRC? If you mean, but so couple things, you're gonna hit a barrier with the tools, because most GRC tools are not accessible currently.
Yeah.
That's your biggest problem you're going to have. The other is, if you're going at it from the compliance perspective, you would need to learn about what the WCAG standards are, what Section 508 is. It focus on Section 508 because that's what you would be held against, or in the US at least. And I believe it's, I'm not going to speak out of turn, but there's some other things that you're already held against. You just haven't been sued. The company just hasn't been sued yet.
Put the link in there to the Section 508 section on the government website in case anyone wants to dig into that. in a bit more.
Thank you.
Yeah, Louis, I think connect with Justin afterwards as well if you're not connected already. Definitely worth a
Yeah,
chat
please.
there. Okay,
Yes.
what else should we talk about? Let's move on. What was the name of the standard Louis just said?
WCAG,
What's it?
WCAG.
Yeah, there we go.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Okay, so what? Talk to me about the work you're doing to bring awareness. You've been quite busy recently doing bits and pieces. What have you been up to?
So getting connecting with people on LinkedIn, taking their questions. When I see people post about neurodiversity or something kind of in the vein, I try to chime in and ask, what are we talking about, the accessibility portion of it, and further beyond, because neurodiversity is part, but to go even beyond that, because it's often missed, and just taking the opportunities when they're given to me, doing interviews like this, talking with you, and just spreading awareness. I mean, that's the easiest way, spreading awareness.
Um, I just want to pick up on something you said then, and this is a little bit
Yeah.
off topic.
Oh, can I
Of
pause?
course,
Michaela just gave the direct link to the guidelines, Lewis. So
perfect.
and connect with Michaela. She's on top of stuff when it comes to accessibility.
Okay. If you don't mind me asking you a quick question, it's a bit off tangent, but you used the word
Okay.
neurodiversity in
Yes.
that statement there. And
Yep.
as someone who's actually
Mhm.
been diagnosed, not self-diagnosed, but being
Right.
diagnosed with ADHD, do
Right.
you think there are a lot of people jumping on the bandwagon of being neurodiverse, or do you think society is suddenly realizing that we have got more neurodiverse people in there?
The second
The
part,
second,
I think it's. I mean, I think in anything, people are going to are going to use an opportunity
yeah,
for maybe not the right gains, but I think the majority is the latter. I think, and I don't think it's enough.
no,
I Because there's still people right now in organizations right now that are leaving those organizations purely because of how they're treated because of they're
yeah.
neurodiverse.
I mean,
I know a few,
for me, neurodiversity wasn't even a thing when I was at school. I was the naughty kid.
but it was
Of course
though.
it was. Of course it was.
But it
I
was,
I was
yeah.
the naughty kid at school, and I wonder whether
Me
I'm
too.
playing devil's advocate here because
Yeah.
you read both sides in the media. You read the sides where there are more neurodiverse people being diagnosed, and then you read the side that there's people jumping on the bandwagon. And I think it is a mix of both. I think there are a lot of so-called influencers out there jumping on the bandwagon because it looks good for them. So, but like you said a moment ago, you're always going to get people taking advantage of situations. But for me,
Right.
being diagnosed at 46, it
Right.
didn't give me all the answers, but it certainly did help me to start to put things in place to manage how my
Right.
brain works. And I think the meditation
Yep.
thing's been a part of that. So we'll move on from the neurodiversity bit because I know that's not what we were here to talk about. But
No, no, you are no that. But hold on. But that's accessibility.
yeah,
So it's 100% the topic, part of the topic. Because again, accessibility is not one thing. It's not just talking about screen reader users or deaf users or neurodiverse. It's very wide.
there's a comment there. I can't see who it is because it just says LinkedIn user my end. Getting a diagnosis from their experience in the UK is near impossible. It's much harder for non binary folk and women to be taken seriously with neurodiversity. Completely agree. But there are difficulties for men also. So, Alfie Linstead, I'm sure he won't mind me saying this online. He contacted his GP, I think it was about 18 months ago now, to get an assessment done. He's showing
Yeah.
all of the characteristics that his dad does, plus a couple of extra ones as well. The letter he got back after he'd been referred was that there's up to a 4 to 5 year wait before he actually hears anything back. So I completely agree that there is a difficulties for everyone in the UK. The resources just aren't there. It hasn't caught up yet. I was fortunate enough that someone paid for me to go privately, and I think
Right.
I thank them very much for that because at the time I certainly couldn't afford it myself. But I think if you can't get the diagnosis but you feel that it might apply to you, research what you can do to help because the meditation side
Right.
and the mindfulness side of it, I'm not talking about the medication side here, but the bits that we can do without medication, they're very powerful and they do really, really work. So I don't think you have to be diagnosed to start trying to make a difference in your life.
Can you highlight Michaela's last comment? Because it answers,
Of
it talks
course.
about.
Yeah, agreed. In fact, Michaela, and I might get shot down in flames for this, I think it's a little bit of the next step of evolution for us because we don't need those caveman skills anymore, right? I don't need to hunt antelope in my back garden and be able to run 100 meters, which is a good job because
Well, somebody
I
does, but I
struggle. I
get what you're
struggle
saying.
walking upstairs at the moment, so it's probably a good job that
Right.
I don't have. But as a society, we don't, and we need different skills, don't we? Do you not think that's part of it?
No, it's totally part of
Yeah,
it, and that it kind of bleeds into the stuff that you're doing with ISL, right? It's because it's inclusion, right? You're creating something that allows anyone to kind of do what they want in cybersecurity, at least. Like you could be in sales and benefit from being in the community. You
yeah.
can be in cyber itself. You are we're all in
I
cyber.
think
You
I
go
think the
like a
the
technician.
beautiful thing of it is you don't actually need to have a job in cybersecurity to be part of the community. And let's be honest,
No, 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 no. But you can
you haven't
benefit.
even got to want a job in cybersecurity because as you said at the start of that statement, it's about being inclusive for everyone. If you've got an interest in it and you want to
Right.
dip your toe in, you're just as welcome if you're someone who's committed to
Fair.
12 months of study.
Fair, but I feel like it's kind of an incubator, but it's how you use it. Joe Wells is using it differently than I'm using
Yeah,
it, differently than Jason Carrico is using it versus you're using it. I mean, you own it,
yeah,
right? That's what I mean. Like it's there for anyone
yeah.
if they want to do just learn a little bit, or they actually like want to
Be
use
involved.
it as
Yeah,
because I'm using it as fuel.
yeah,
Because mentoring the different people, I'm learning things that I normally would not know, right? Because am I interviewing a bunch of these people? Am I talking to them? How am I supposed to know about things? I broke into this industry 25 years ago. So if I want to mentor people, I need to know what's going on.
yeah.
And that's the perfect balance between the two. But I didn't want to get off topic, but I like that it allows us to bring up ideas like this, um, where in other forms that I've never been turned down. I'm just saying it's cool that
I think again, it's nice to have a platform where anyone can get the chance to speak. And when I get back
right,
from Tampa, week commencing the third, I've got a list of
right,
people in the community who've expressed an interest on coming on one of these shows when we get YouTube working again, probably.
yeah,
And I'd
yeah,
like to be able to use the coverage that we have on the YouTube channel now to be able to promote and display the talent that we've got within the community because we've got
that's a
tons
good
of
idea.
talent within there. We really
Yeah,
have. And again, I'd encourage any recruiters out there who are watching this. It's an open door community. You're welcome in. You know, as long as you don't start coming in and harassing people and giving people a hard time, then we will kick you out. But you're obviously you're welcome in to network and collaborate with these people, a lot of whom are the future of the cybersecurity industry.
yeah, I agree.
Okay, Joe said cost the taxpayer 650 quid for his assessment. Nice, love that. Michaela, as an aside for ADHD peeps, really pleased that Russell Barkley is publishing videos again. Here we go. Just bring that
Oh,
one up.
cool. That's awesome.
I can't
Thank
I
you.
can't copy these though, Michaela, and drop them in the LinkedIn chat. So I think you're in LinkedIn, which means they should be coming up already. Okay, we've got 5 minutes left because it's my wedding anniversary, and I've promised my wife I'm going to
Oh,
sit down with dinner for her.
fair
So,
enough.
what should we focus on for the last 5 minutes, Justin?
Um, I mean, just spread awareness. And I know it sounds tacky to say spread this, just like I was promoting an album, but the thing is your colleagues are not aware of this. There is a risk right now in many enterprise organizations, big organizations, that is being completely missed because I don't think most CISOs are aware of it.
No, I don't think they are either.
So yeah, I mean, it's only a matter of time. Someone's going to get phished or someone's going to take their password because the tool wasn't accessible that you rolled out to the whole organization. So they have to call a friend and do a screen share and say, hey, what's my password? Where do I need to enter it in? Right. And to me, if you're a security professional and you're hearing that, that should be making your skin crawl. I mean, it does to me, because you're not doing what that whole program is built for. The whole thing is to secure and educate people around security within that organization. Unfortunately, you're not doing that for everyone that's in your organization.
So have you started reaching out to training providers then to talk to them?
Yes.
You have. And what has the response been like back from them? No one's
So far,
no one's asked for it yet. Is that?
No. There are companies that are working on that currently.
Because you'd think the first step would be to have inclusive training, wouldn't you, for all staff? That's not just inclusive, but relevant to all staff as well. Going back to Steve's comment earlier about, run, fight, and hide. If all you can do is hide, I need different instructions.
Well, right. I mean, because even my friend Ali Yu and his company Fezant and the org that he does, Cyblack, is trying to fight against it and trying to bring inclusion and accessibility, because, what security awareness training is given to people that are working remotely from Africa to companies in Europe? Probably none. It's probably no one that looks like them, or in situate like here's another thing. Family looks differently to you than it does to me.
Very much so.
So when you're showing pictures of family for one of the problem issues with accessibility is multi-factor authentication.
Yeah.
And when they do CAPTCHA, like CAPTCHA is stupid. It's not even security. Like, it's dumb.
Yeah.
And then you're looking at the pictures like, tell me what the picture, which one of these is a police car. To a kid in Germany looking at pictures of police cars in the US, do they necessarily know what a police car in the US looks like? So now they can't get in the website because they don't know what the picture looks like?
That's a really good point.
Or because they don't know what 7 + 1 means?
Yeah.
So because they don't know math, they can't log in to Roblox or into their tool or into their game. What? That makes no sense.
Doesn't.
No.
No, I completely agree. I was going to say something then. It's completely gone. What we got here? Aliu, let's bring your comment up. 100%. Lack of accessibility and security measures, authorization, MFA, capture, etc., make vulnerable people more vulnerable. Imagine depending on your abuser to be able to log in. I think that's what you were just talking about. Log into your bank account or the NHS. I completely agree. Which brings me on to another point. There was an article in, let me see if I can find it. I think it was the Guardian paper in the UK today, where they were talking about how accessibility for elderly people and poor people effectively in the UK, because of the requirement to have an app for banking, an app for the NHS, and an app for everything else, just to pile even more pressure on that, all the UK banks are closing their local branches, so none of these people have now got anyone to go in and speak to. It's a huge problem.
Yes, Steve, you're a robot. But I'm funny you should say that, because that's another thing, is what that CAPTCHA is doing is to prove that you're not a robot. Well, imagine being asked if you're a robot all the time, and it happens to people with this all the time because they're using screen readers.
Yeah.
Right. But they have to use that tech, or they won't be able to consume anything that's digital.
Well, look, Justin, I love what you're trying to do. I love the fact you're trying to bring awareness to this. Thank
you for the opportunity as well.
You're always welcome. What I'm going to do is attempt. These are recorded on Restream, so I'm going to download this recording and try and upload that to YouTube afterwards. So this should be available on YouTube after. I'll send you the link, and I'll drop the link into the LinkedIn chat as well. We should finish off on the last comment, really. There's a
Yes,
couple.
and it's perfect one. Thank you, Kat, for coming, by the way.
Let's bring Kat's comment up as a final one. We'll just do the one before. Those captures are awful. Dome images have a slither of a motorbike or a bridge in a different square, and we don't know if that can. It's the traffic lights that do me. Are you meant to,
Oh, right.
or the stop signals, as you call them? Are you meant to put the pole in, or is it just the lights at the top? And then you've got 4 poles,
Yeah.
and you've got. I mean, I can't do them either. Here we go. Kat's comment.
Yeah, but Parshant, the captchas aren't security. They just need to go.
Companies must collaborate to develop policies and standards that guarantee cybersecurity measures are accessible and inclusive. Include,
Yep.
involve, and pay disabled folks and other marginalized groups in cybersecurity decision making. It's essential to ensure that our needs and perspective can guide the process by providing it's both accessible and inclusive for all. So, very wise words
100%.
there, Kat, I think. Thank you so, so much. Everyone, thank you for taking the time to tune in.
Thank you.
Apologies for the mess up with YouTube today. I'm going to be on the text chat, hopefully an accessible text chat with Restream. I will be asking the question in the next 10 minutes and get that YouTube issue resolved. But yeah, have an amazing day, everyone. Justin, thank you so much for your time. And
Thank you.
we'll see you all really, really soon. Take care.
Cheers.